More breaking news tonight. Congresswoman Sheila Cherfilus-McCormack and several co-defendants have been indicted by a federal grand jury in Miami, accused of stealing more than $5 million in federal disaster funds. Our Michael Hoffman explains how prosecutors say the scheme unfolded.
According to federal prosecutors, this dates back to 2021 when Congresswoman Cherfilus-McCormack's company received an overpayment of $5.7 million for a COVID-19 vaccination contract. The indictment alleges she and her co-defendants conspired to steal those taxpayer funds, routing the money through multiple accounts, with much of it allegedly funneled into her congressional campaign using straw donors.
Welcome back to the channel. Here is what the investigators are laying out so far. McCormack is accused of taking that pot of money and using it to power her 2021 campaign, then running it through several different accounts to make the transfers harder to trace. Totally ordinary behavior for someone who insists they did nothing wrong, right? According to the case file, she was not working alone. Her brother, 51-year-old Edwin Cherfilus, allegedly handled the financial side through their family healthcare company, which became the hub for cleaning and routing the cash. What makes it even more eye-catching is that this same business had received FEMA funds in 2021 for helping register people for COVID vaccinations. The timing lines up a little too neatly. When you look at it this way, it starts to appear like she did not believe she could pull off a legitimate congressional run in 2020. Instead of earning support the straightforward way, prosecutors say she tapped into taxpayer-funded relief money to tilt the odds in her favor. So maybe Florida still has more house cleaning ahead when it comes to phasing out these DEI-backed political figures. With that said, let us move over to what Marianne Rafferty reported on Fox News.
This is a wild story. Good morning to you. The Democratic Congresswoman is one of 4 people accused of stealing taxpayer money to help win an election. The indictment handed down in Miami offers some stunning details about an alleged scheme also under review by the House Ethics Committee. The Justice Department charging 46-year-old Representative Sheila Cherfilus-McCormack of stealing disaster funds meant to help with COVID vaccinations, then laundering the money so she could run for Congress. Her brother, a political operative, and an accountant are also facing charges. The Attorney General says the Congresswoman conspired to steal $5 million, then tried to hide the money through multiple accounts to disguise its source. In a statement overnight, Pam Bondi said no one is above the law, least of all powerful people who rob taxpayers for personal gain. We will follow the facts in this case and deliver justice.
And now, after everything that has come out, McCormack has released a statement saying she is completely innocent. Look, you are facing a federal indictment. They do not usually file charges out of thin air. Although, to be fair, we all remember what happened with Donald Trump, so maybe I should ease up on that point for a second. But in a normal situation, outside of political chaos, it is common sense that federal prosecutors do not go after someone without a solid trail to back it up. And in this case, the picture looks pretty clear. They did not indict her because they felt like it. They did it because the evidence points to someone who was willing to cheat the system and mislead voters.
On the indictment date, what is an unjust indictment? And it seems like these intimidation tactics have been pervasive. We spent all week seeing different members getting censured, all in hopes of intimidating and kind of distracting from the Epstein files. And I look forward to my day in court so I can prove myself and actually state the truth. But if this is what Congress is becoming, where they're always trying to intimidate you, scare tactics, especially attacking minorities, Black and brown people, then we're going to have to keep fighting for the district. And everybody has been giving me so much support, and we're going to keep fighting until the district gets what it needs, which is fair prices, housing, and fair representation of college.
And now we get her on camera, acting like this entire situation is some kind of identity-driven persecution. It is the same routine we have seen from certain politicians for years. Whenever they get caught in something serious, instead of addressing the substance, they try to wrap themselves in a narrative that automatically paints any accountability as an attack. At some point, that card needs to be retired because it has been used to exhaustion. What makes this so frustrating is how disconnected it is from the facts. Nobody is questioning her because of who she is. People are questioning her because federal prosecutors detailed a financial operation that looks structured, intentional, and carefully hidden. The indictment lays out the movement of money, the accounts involved, the timing, and the use of a family business to wash the funds. That is not an identity issue. That is a conduct issue. She keeps insisting she is innocent and that she is here to stand up for the people, but the picture described by investigators points to someone who may have been maneuvering behind the scenes to boost her chances in an election she could not win with qualifications or public trust alone. If that evidence holds up in court, then this is not a story about someone being unfairly judged. This is a story about a candidate who may have misled voters to gain power. And this is where the broader frustration with DEI comes into play. When ideologies start rewarding labels over competence, when advancement gets tied to optics instead of performance, public trust gets hammered. It becomes harder for people to believe institutions are functioning fairly. It forces everyone to wonder whether someone earned their position or whether they were pushed forward to check a political box. That doubt is unhealthy in any sector, but it is especially dangerous in government and other fields where precision, skill, and accountability are DEI is sold as fairness, but in practice it often drops the standards that protect quality and safety. It encourages the idea that people should rise because of circumstances rather than professional merit. That is the opposite of what built this country. The American model has always been based on the belief that your work ethic, skill, and discipline are what carry you forward. When that principle gets replaced with a narrative that prioritizes symbolism over substance, the entire system weakens. And for Representative McCormack, I will be honest. Nothing in this situation makes her look like a champion of excellence or honesty. If even part of the indictment is true, then we are looking at someone who chose shortcuts instead of qualifications, manipulation instead of merit, and self-interest instead of public service.
The Justice Department said today the Democrat is accused of stealing a federal emergency management agency overpayments that her family healthcare company and received through a federally funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract, federal prosecutors said. A portion of the money was then funneled to support her campaign through candidate contributions, prosecutors allege. Using disaster relief funds for self-enrichment is a particularly selfish, cynical crime, the Attorney General Pam Bondi said in a statement. No one is above the law, least of all powerful people who rob taxpayers for personal gain. We will follow through the facts in this case and deliver justice. A phone message left.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also faced questions about McCormack's charges earlier today. Reporters were already circling him over the ongoing situation involving Epstein-linked donations and the effort to trace which campaigns benefited from that money. So he is walking into the press briefing already under pressure, already having to explain how his party is handling that entire controversy. Then, on top of that, he gets hit with questions about McCormack and her indictment. It is not exactly the kind of headline any party leader wants to deal with, especially when there are growing concerns about ethics, transparency, and campaign funding as a whole. Jeffries tried to give his take while keeping control of the narrative, but you could tell the timing could not be worse for him. Right after that, Speaker Mike Johnson stepped up and gave his own response. And between the two of them, you can see how both sides of Congress are trying to frame this situation in a way that benefits their political position. This entire story is turning into a bigger problem than just one member facing charges. It is now pulling other leaders into the spotlight as everyone tries to distance themselves or spin the fallout.
Senators telling ABC they're shocked.
At some point, I'll issue a statement, but I'm waiting on the opportunity to have a conversation with Sheila.
If it's true, I'm sure someone will be bringing a censure motion. That seems to be the thing to do now. So we'll see. I'm not going to prejudge it. I just read that. It's a surprise to me, but who knows? We need ethical people to serve in Congress, and we'll see what happens.
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson is absolutely right when he says we need ethical people serving in Congress. Yeah, you're correct. What we don't need are corrupt politicians deceiving us about taxpayer money being diverted into their own personal interests. Oh, that's right. Remember when Doge and Elon Musk, speaking of which, I know this is kind of off topic, but it's not. Elon Musk was at a dinner recently with Donald Trump. So it looks like the boys are getting back together, and if we can return to the original Doge initiative and really dive in, because I think a lot of those establishment figures try to push him out and get him gone quickly because they were like, we don't want him around. I say, yeah, get back in there. There were a lot of politicians who were genuinely upset by his presence, and he was kind of an agitator, and it was actually great in a way because it was throwing them off their rhythm. These two tech-savvy guys just digging into everything. Absolutely. We want more of that. We want more transparency. We want more of those interviews. We want more of those live streams. Like, let's go into Fort Knox. What happened to Fort Knox? Why don't we go check if the gold is actually there? Oh my gosh. Side note. Well, I'm really going on tangents, aren't I? If you went into the Treasury and you discovered, oh, live stream it, there's no gold, then it would have a catastrophic impact on the economy. So in a way, I understand if Trump's like, yeah, I know there's no gold there, so I'm not going to reveal that because that would destroy the economy since I'm trying to repair it. I'm trying to rebuild everything. So I get that. But if the gold is there, it's like, man, just show it. It's another victory for you. Anyway, that's a side issue. Now, jumping all the way back to the whole Hakeem Jeffries, Mike Johnson situation and their reactions to this case that I'm discussing today, there was an interview from Scott MacFarlane from CBS News, and he was explaining the story in more detail about how McCormack transferred and utilized these funds. So check out this video clip.
Cherfilus-McCormack, Democrat for Congress.
When Sheila Cherfilus-McCormack was running for a seat in the U.S. House in 2021, the Department of Justice says the Democrats stole $5 million in COVID-19 disaster funds to support her congressional campaign. A federal grand jury indicted Cherfilus-McCormack and several co-defendants Wednesday. Prosecutors allege a healthcare company she ran with her brother was overpaid $5 million in FEMA funds for a vaccination staffing contract. They say the company received that money in July 2021, and Cherfilus-McCormack used it for her campaign. The funds were routed through multiple accounts to disguise its source, they say. And a portion of the money was funneled to friends and family who donated to the campaign. It's the latest legal battle for Cherfilus-McCormack, who's already under investigation by the House Ethics Committee for campaign finance violations, including misreporting the source of a contribution. In a statement, Cherfilus-McCormack called the case a, quote, sham indictment, insisting she is innocent.
All right, maybe that clip was not exactly a full interview, but it was enough to make the situation very clear. McCormack is already under the microscope, and the House Ethics Committee has been looking into her for allegedly filing false reports about where her campaign money actually came from. That is a serious issue on its own. And when you add the federal indictment, plus the questions about whether the funds can be traced back to that enormous $5 million FEMA grant, the whole situation becomes even more damaging. If investigators can prove that any part of that emergency relief money was redirected into her campaign, then she is facing a political firestorm along with potential legal consequences. It is a huge problem, no matter how her team tries to spin it. That wraps up everything for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your time here. I appreciate every one of you. Make sure you hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe so you do not miss the next update. Much love to all of you, and I will see you in the next one.